Hello, you're watching World Talks. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. Latvia's political order is being reset after Prime Minister Evika Siliņa resigned and President Edgars Rinkēvičs appointed opposition lawmaker Andris Kulbergs to attempt at forming a new government. Now, the decision follows a destabilizing mix of security incidents linked to the Russia-Ukraine war, spillover and domestic corruption allegations. Now, to analyze the latest, we're now joined by Sigita Struberga, Secretary General of the Latvian Transatlantic Organization. Good to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
If you can, please, Sigita, just give us a very brief, concise way. How did we get here to this resignation, a new government forming? What was it? Was it security? Was it politics? What was it?
First and foremost, of course, it was about politics. And I must say that the government survived several crises, and the last one indeed was connected with the drone incidents in the eastern part of Latvia. But at the same time, we have seen already very serious attempt to overthrow the government, like, for example, at the moment when there were serious debates on support to our national air company, Air Baltic, which was just around 2 weeks ago. So as we see, the final point indeed was last week. Basically, the government realized that the internal conflicts are so strong that working together is getting simply impossible. And at that moment, Prime Minister Evika Siliņa also accused the Minister of Defense of non-ability to react fast enough to the drone incidents. It was announced that in these several years after the beginning of full-scale invasion of Russia to Ukraine, Minister of Defense has not been effective enough to build necessary measures against drone incidents. So altogether, it made several serious conflicts, which has ended up with the decision to make new government.
Mm-hmm. As you said, in your words, the final straw, all those different crises leading to this moment. So let's look. Also, I think it's worth noting that that in that government, in the coalition, the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister, they were from different parties. So I think that's also worth noting. But let's go to a new man and a new name, Mr. Andris Kulbergs. Now, this is the man reportedly now in charge of trying to form a new government selected by the President of Latvia. How successful will he be in that endeavor? And what kind of a man is he? Tell us a little bit about this.
So I believe that the task for Mr. Kulbergs is not going to be easy for sure, because during previous government of Evika Siliņa, several parties, including those two you mentioned, New Unity, represented by Evika Siliņa, and Progressives, represented by former Defense Minister Andris Kulbergs, and several other, all of them have drawn several red lines in terms of cooperation with other political forces. Besides of that, internal political conflicts between previous coalition parties have become so serious that this does not make the new government, building of new government easier. And the personality of Mr. Kulbergs might play a role as well, taking in consideration that while being in opposition, he has had quite a strong rhetoric about several political forces. So, and the final factor in here, of course, is the number of deputies you need to build coalition. So all those factors are influencing the situation in a way that building coalition is going to be a really hard task.
And also, I'm curious because let's go back to what you said earlier, as that there were, let's say, there was criticism already in terms of air defense. That goes back to, well, the Prime Minister as well. But nevertheless, I'm just curious, now with this transition of trying to establish a new government, you have elections in October. I mean, how vulnerable is Latvia right now? I mean, this is a key time. This is the NATO eastern flank. This is the Baltic. So how does that, like, let's say, measure on defense? Does this make Latvia more vulnerable at this time?
I wouldn't agree with the point that Latvia, in terms of external security, has become more vulnerable. Latvia is basically facing the same vulnerabilities as other NATO countries. If you look closer on the NATO analysis of our overall preparedness against drones, you will see that all the rest of countries have exactly the same symptoms as Latvia has. In Latvia's case, I think the main problem of our Ministry of Defense, or to be precise, Minister of Defense, was the way how the story of Latvia building wall against drones was told, and I think that was the vulnerability. But in terms of our overall defense system, I think we are on the good track. And in this case, like in the domestic political fights between political parties does not influence directly Latvia's external security.
All right, and tell us maybe a bit more about Mr. Kulbergs. Where does he stand in terms of his position for security, NATO? Can you tell us a bit more about him?
Basically, Mr. Kulbergs represents a right-wing party with strong positions regarding support towards Ukraine, which is good. Also, we know that he and his party is talking quite a lot on regional development. He is ready mainly to work with right-wing parties, and his party, Red Line, definitely is non-working with Russian parties. So in this sense, I think those are those good signals. But as I mentioned before, his rhetorics in Parliament might be an issue of debate now while the conversations on building new government will appear. And we should indeed remember that there are several domestic challenges, mainly economic ones, which demand unpopular political decisions. And now imagine, in context of 5 months before elections, which political force will be willing to take painful decisions. So that's why Kulbergs, on one hand, he has got this opportunity to build party, but whether he will be ready to take those unpopular decisions, I wouldn't be that sure yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you bring up a good point. I mean, even if this government does continue in this form, if this is managed to be put off the ground, we have those elections in October. So I was just going to ask about the stability of that government, of how he would potentially then also carry on, or do you see maybe the former Prime Minister Silina coming back somehow? Will this be another political fight in October?
At very this moment, it's really a good question, because I think no one, including political forces, knows these answers. What we see from opinion polls is that the fight will be serious, and actually parties do realize it very well. That's why our pre-election time in Latvia basically started already in autumn last year, in November last year, when there were debates on Istanbul Convention. And all this time, what we see is that parties are trying to calculate their positions for the elections. Whether former ministers might come back with a new government, most likely yes, but it will be really dependent on the election results. And if in the past we could more or less say, then for several this time opposition parties, it might be a big question whether they will return to the government and whether they will be able to take necessary number of seats to influence the building of coalition as such.
All right, some very delicate political steps ahead these next few weeks and months, so we'll be watching it closely. Thanks so much for that. Pleasure having you with us here, Sigita Struberga, Secretary General of the Latvian Transatlantic Organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.